My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ Podcast. Today we are at HAI Heli Expo, which is the last year. They're going to be VAI, and it's going to be, Verticon next year in Dallas. But right now, we're in Anaheim, California. We're recording live at the Vertical booth. So we're, Vertical Helicast. Yes! Powered by Vertical Helicast. I love it. So today I've got San Diego Fire Department with me. Super stoked to have you guys here. We've got Tim, we've got Paul, we got Derek, also known as Deke. That's how that rolls, right?
That's how it goes.
Right on, awesome. And I want to throw a shout out right now to our sponsor of this in particular episode. It's going to be Axness. Their comms, their wireless ICS, awesome system. If you guys haven't checked it out, please go check it out, axness.com. It's freaking legit, and we're going to get into some stories here in a minute, and then we're going to talk about some Axness system, which is freaking badass. So I'm stoked. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Heck yeah. Are you guys enjoying the show so far?
Yeah. First podcast ever.
Well, yeah, okay. What about the rest of it?
Listening to, doing. Oh, the HAI
HAI,
stuff?
yeah.
Oh, no, we've been here before.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
This is the important thing right here.
This is right
This
here.
is the highlight.
Oh, heart.
That's why we
I
all
heart
came
you.
today.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
Dude, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not far from you guys. Anaheim, what is it, 2 hours?
Hour and 30 minutes.
Well,
Hour 45.
Yeah, hour 45.
License sirens?
No, if you're driving a city vehicle, it's like 3 hours.
Oh,
Or like
gotcha.
a work truck. But
Oh,
if
okay.
you're in your POV, it's like an hour and a half.
Oh, that's not too bad. Nice.
Just kidding.
Right. No, reverse that.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Bro, that's awesome. Well, I'm psyched to have you guys on. Like I said, we're going to talk about a couple things. You guys have a pretty gnarly rescue that you had, and you guys get to fill us in on all that. In addition to that, we're really going to highlight the Axness system because you guys just recently got that involved in your aircraft, and it totally worked out and saved you in this in particular rescue, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Freaking sick. All right, now before we do that, dude, Tim, give me a little background. How did you get into San Diego Fire?
I started as a volunteer at 14, like through Boy Scouts of America, through a cadet explorer program. I did that till 19 when I graduated medic school, and then just got picked up, kind of went through tribal fire departments, stuff like that. Tested with San Diego, got lucky. My kids were 4 months old, got hired, went through the academy, and that was almost 20 years ago.
Dang, nice.
Yeah.
Are you close to retirement then?
In tomorrow will be 9 years
Ooh, man.
retirement.
Nice. Keep going.
Well, I'm going to go 5 more.
Right on.
So
I like it. Dude,
yeah,
that's awesome.
14 years left.
Killer. Dude, that's awesome. Good for you, man.
Not that I'm counting.
No. Just calling it. No, don't count. It's okay. Paul, what about you, man?
Kind of the same thing. I started 15, 16 as an explorer in San Diego, and that kind of transitioned into I worked for Cal Fire, or CDF is what it was known when I worked for it. I got hired at 18, worked 19, 20 years old. I got hired by San Diego Fire in 2000, so it's been 24 years, and roughly, nearly 30 years in the fire service.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's been great. Same with Tim. You know, I potentially have 4 years left when I turn 50, looking to depart here healthily, more with my health.
Right.
And love my job, love coming to work, and excited to be around the people that I am and graced by. And that's it. I mean, no rush, no hurry to exit, but because this is such a cool job, and I'm at the pinnacle of, we were talking to someone yesterday about our careers and just kind of where it has brought me. And if every 5 years or so, my career has taken a turn where I wouldn't have imagined it going, for the good. And right now I'd say I'm on top of my hill. I'm in a good, nice place. So it's I'm very fortunate.
Bro, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, that's sick. All right, Derek.
And for me, it started 20 years ago.
Let's get comfy here for Derek's story.
I was in college and had to make the decision to go military or go the private route to learn how to fly. And I went the private route, learned how to fly, and had to flight instruct for a while after I got my ratings done. And then went to the South and got on with a seismic company, and that's where I learned to fly the long line.
Yep.
Caught a couple breaks and traveled all over the country doing seismic work for 4 or 5 years. And that's where I really got refined in my long line skills. And then from there, it kind of transitioned into a company called Heli Quest. And I started moving up in aircraft, and that's where I got into fighting fire. Spent 9 years with them, flying 4 service contracts all over the country, and we'd go to Mexico in the wintertime and fight fire down in Monterey. And then in the wintertime, if we weren't fighting fire down there, we were in Alaska moving drills or all over there. We were all over the place. So I basically spent probably 12 years on the road chasing helicopters, working the normal utility schedule, 12 on, 12 off, or sometimes quite a bit more on because that was before kids and all that. So living life, and moved down here flying Ramona Heli Attack in Ramona, California. And a couple opportunities came up for SDG&E. And flew for them for a couple of years, and then just so happens a spot came open at San Diego City. So we decided to call San Diego home, and I've been flying for them for the last 3 years, and be the home for the next while, hopefully.
Right on, man. That's killer. So you've flown all around.
Yeah, we've flown all over the country, Mexico, Canada, Alaska, obviously, and so yeah, mostly all utility work, a lot of power line history, building power line structures, fighting fire, obviously, heli logging.
Cool. Oh wow,
doing
nice.
all sorts of stuff. So.
How many different aircrafts?
Oh shoot.
Okay, don't answer that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
a lot more than you can fit on one hand. You're like,
not any more than probably most people that have been in for 20 years chasing these things.
Okay.
But yeah, there's probably 7, 8, 9 different aircraft that are a decent amount of time in.
Oh, that's super cool, man. I like that.
Yeah, it's been an interesting career for sure, but it's nice to be able to call San Diego home and be close to the family and not traveling all the time anymore. So it's
right
good.
on.
Yeah, it's fun.
So there it is. Hey, I did my own. Like I got a brother or a fellow, not a brother, but a fellow finned brother, United States Coast Guard swimmer, Josh Maramontes.
Oh yes.
Do you know him?
He is selected as one of our next crew chiefs.
He's in the next crew chief academy.
Okay,
one of my
you go
great
down there.
friends.
You mean Mr. Time Magazine?
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude!
In the academy, it was all over.
I love it.
Bachelor of the Year, everything. Yeah.
Al Montez.
So we were stationed together up in Kodiak, Alaska.
I was going to ask you for
dude, I love that guy. I absolutely love that guy. I would love to get him on the podcast as well. So when you get back, be like, hey, you got to go. Quinny said you got to go.
Yeah.
All right. Dude, legit guy. I'll leave it at that because this is about you guys right now. But
we're Coast Guard heavy in Air Ops.
Really?
We have Coast Guard mechanics.
Oh, awesome.
Him. Another mechanic's interviewing right now. Oh, no, Andy's also from Coast Guard.
Yeah.
And another one's interviewing.
Sick.
So, yeah, we're plucking from San Diego sector.
Oh, that's great. That's
and
great.
we got Tim is also on the boats out of San Diego.
Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic. Oh, I'm psyched.
He made the captain or something. I don't know the ranking. I'm not familiar with the
lieutenant
Coast Guard rank system.
So if it's a little bar, 2 bars, that would be lieutenant.
That means something.
Yeah, it does. It's captain in like the Army and lieutenant in the Coast Guard and Navy. Yeah. Anyway.
In the fire service, it just means I got more time than you.
Yeah.
Oh, is that it? Okay. I love it. Well, please give Josh my love when you guys get down there.
For sure.
And even if he's not listening right now, you dick, you're not listening.
Yeah.
Get on the podcast.
Yeah.
He's gonna listen to that. He'd be like, "Oh, Quinny, you're a dick."
Your phone's gonna blow up.
Yeah, totally. Where to throw it
in the middle of the night.
Hey, turn around real quick. What's up? It's my boy Renato coming to from us Brazil right there, man.
Renato, tudo bem?
All right.
Eu falo português, tá bem?
Sim.
Minha esposa desde Portugal. Sim, eu falo muito português.
Hey, that's good. Yeah, you'll have to talk to him later.
All right, got it.
So, all right, one of the first things I like to do is I like to hear everybody's like first rescue. All right, and what I like about it is because it's that the adrenaline pumping. You never know, like the alarm goes off and you're going, whether it's a fire, medical, heli, whatever you want, whatever comes to mind. What you got, Tim?
I'd probably say my first call on a fire engine, I guess, was I was 14, and somebody had a seizure while driving their car and went off and into a fountain. And it was just kind of the first exposure to a medical and a car accident, everything all in one. And I think we ended up driving to the hospital in the ambulance. I don't think we flew them, but where it was pretty rural. So anything that was over 20 minutes, you were flying them. So I'd say that was probably my first like memorable call ever.
Define a fountain. Like a water fountain?
Yeah, it was like a golf course, and it was like the entrance to that, and the car went off the freeway, probably through 400 or 500 feet of brush, across another like major thoroughfare road, and into the fountain.
Oh, damn.
And the dude was still in there, and I was like, how does this happen? And I was only 14, I didn't know anything. And they're like, oh yeah, you had a seizure. Okay.
Oh, that sucks.
So that kind of like just opened the door and started everything, I guess.
Wow. At 14 years old.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I was lucky. I had family friends that were in that department that kind of guided me in, and I didn't really have the choice between the military or flying. It was either jail or fire department. So just kidding.
I like
I think that's the path for most of us.
Yeah.
It's either one way or the other.
Luckily, I steered clear of that direction early.
Wow.
So yeah, it was,
Man, what a call out for like one of your first ones.
yeah, it was crazy. I mean, the rad thing was seeing all the stuff from 14 all the way to 18 to when I could go to EMT school.
Yeah.
EMT school was a lot easier, and then transitioning, working on an ambulance with paramedics as an EMT was easier going through medic school, and I was more freshly rehearsed in studying than some of the other counterparts that were in my medic class. So it was definitely easier for me when I got there.
Right on.
So yeah, it was cool.
Dang, man. Wow, what a trip.
Yeah.
I'm still blowing my mind. 14 years old. Yeah, I mean, like 14 years old. What was I doing at 14? Not rolling up on a car accident in a friggin' fountain. I'll tell you that. Holy cow.
That comes with its bad side too. I mean, that's that much longer that you're seeing all this stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Dang.
Now I'm happy where I'm at. It's definitely the height of the fire department, I would say, and I think I have a cooler job than both of you.
Noted.
You have a pretty cool job, dude.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right, Paul. Cool. So what was your first?
My first. You know, I don't really know. I honestly don't know if I can put if there's been so many. I've been fortunate to put myself in busy fire stations the majority of my career. I could talk about a real significant incident, and I probably had less than 5 years on where it was a legitimate rescue with there's smoke and fire showing in a house that was in the middle of the night. And I know, and I don't know if you guys know the feeling, but there's times when the tones go off and you just have a feeling and you just know whether you're going to a working incident or not.
Yeah.
And I remember it was about 2 a.m. We got toned out, and I just knew that this was I just felt it right. I'm like, oh, it's on. And I was on engine 19. Shout out to Fire City. That place forever holds a rent in my heart and the people that work there. And I truly believe that because of my past at 19s, a lot of like Billy Alton, who just retired. He was with all these guys were Fire City Station 19 firefighters. We got Tim O'Malley, we got Bill Alton. Who else is there at 19s?
Dan was at 7s with them.
Dan was at 7s, and so that's what's going to tie this story together. So we roll out and we roll up first at scene. There's heavy smoke and fire showing, and there's people pulling literally as I open the door, pulling on my turnout coat, yelling, my parents are in there, my parents are in there. And there's fire blowing out of the front of the house. So I literally had to say, like, you know, get away so we can get to work. And we made access. There's fire blowing out the front. We knocked down the front. We call it transitional attack now. We just basically put water inside so you can make access.
Okay.
Pull hose to the front and knock it down just enough just to get inside. And as we got inside, there was a gentleman with literally his skin sloughing off of him. We pulled him out from about 10 feet inside the house. And as soon as we got to the front door, I clearly remember, engine 19, we have a victim at the front door, bring, ambulance to the front or whatever it was said. And unfortunately, that gentleman didn't make it, and that was one of the parents that was there. And I do know that there was still someone else in there, so we really pulled that one out. My partner, medic at the time, stayed with the burn victim, and I made access into the house, and kind of one of those places where I could go left or go right, and there's smoke to the floor, super hot. It was surreal, kind of like a movie, and everything was kind of coming together where you truly felt like this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so I made it to access to one of the bedrooms, and sure enough, there was a victim in the bed. I remember taking my can light, and old Dan Noonan. Remember Dan Noonan? I remember him. He would always say, "Make sure you take a good can light anytime you go inside a structure." Or working structure like that. So I always made sure I wanted to be lit up like a spaceship anytime I went inside a burning, so people could see me and I could see. Unfortunately, I was able to identify. I remember seeing her eyes like a cat, as I swept the bed, and I was able to radio out, say, Engine 19 firefighters coming out with another victim, and I pulled one out. So Dan, at that time, Engine 7 showed up. So one of the other crew chiefs, one of my mentors, who was on the Engine 7, who had helped me pull this victim out, which was at the time, the pinnacle of my rescue career, pulling someone out. And as you know, or as we know in our jobs, when you're in the trenches with someone, you have that, that cohesion, that awareness, like, yeah, dude, like we've been through some business together.
Yeah.
And we share that same, we share that camaraderie, but also that deep entrenched experience with each other. And so, I had that awesome rescue. Dan and I it was just intense, pulling her out, keeping her low. I remember my legs were burning so bad, my back was burning on fire, trying to drag her out. She was not a small person, but
got it.
But Dan helped pull her out, and then from that point forth, we had a lot of awesome incidents there, but that's a real significant one, and I feel that kind of laid the framework, because not only, like I said, 3 of the crew chiefs came from 19s and one the neighboring station 7, and so now all of those guys are now air operations, but not only that, were guys that I looked up to. So when there was an opportunity in opening in air operations, I remember I ran a call with Tim and Tim O'Malley, and I was the captain or IC on an incident, and I saw them flying overhead. It was an open space of it was a mountain biker in 39's district backside. I'm sure you've been to that many times, but anyways, I was like, they were flying overhead, and I was watching Tim fly overhead, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. And then there was an opening in air operations, and I called to those guys, and I was like, hey, I got a lot going on in my life. You guys got a lot going on in your life. If you guys have your people, lined up, like, no offense taken, like, let me know, because I'm not here to infiltrate or get into some, the culture's tight there where we're at. And they're like, no, man, put in for it. And fortunately I did, and I'm still surrounded by a good group of people and outstanding people. And I'll get in more to that as far as the people we're around with later. But yeah, that's a real significant incident that I feel set my career in a certain trajectory that kept me around the great people that I am today.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, and she survived. She survived. But they were an old married couple for many, many years.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he didn't survive, but he survived. And then, it's great because all those crews that work together. I mean, there's numerous fires that we can go on with, Engine 12 and Truck 12, and all my buddies that work there and the time, and it's funny because all of us are retired. There's a lot of those guys that are retired now, and so it's good to see them retiring, but it's at the same time we had back in the day, we had our day, we had our time, and I'm in a different position now.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I legit what you guys do. I mean, all you guys. My hat's off to you. It really is. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like people look at me and like, man, you jump out of a helicopter for a living? Like, yeah, it's freaking awesome. And then I look at you guys. You guys run into building buildings for a living? Yeah, it's freaking awesome.
Right.
So I mean, you guys are pretty badass.
Awesome.
I dig
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, you're
Thanks.
welcome. All right, Deke.
Yeah, well, it's after that one. Maybe I should have went first.
Sorry, bud. You mean you didn't go in a car accident?
I think, and we're out of here.
We're good. But no, it's my back history is a little bit different than these guys, obviously, because they've been in the fire department for 20 years. So me coming in, I'm going on 3 years with San Diego City. So I actually got hired as an outsider, specifically a pilot to come in.
Yep.
But we've worked 20 years to get to the position to be able to be hired by these guys, So this was in goal, but you come into a very tight-knit group of guys, which these guys are. So my mentality coming in was, well, you don't want to let these guys down. You know that you can fly, and you know that you can do all these things, but you got to kind of break into the inner circle a little bit, But with that being said, you come in and we train and we train and we train and we train. So when you ask what my first call was, I vividly remember it because you come in and you train and you train and you train, and you can fly, but you don't want to let anybody down, right? So the training process is quite significant as far as hoist. The fire side is the fire side, which we've been fighting fire forever, but the hoisting is a new operation for most utility guys coming in. The hoisting is new, so excuse me. We train day, night, and all that, and then there becomes that day where it's like you're good to go. All your task book is all signed off. But I vividly remember being really close to that in and signed off and ready to go. So now it's game time. But the first time you're in there and the tones go off, you still have that anxiety inside, you don't want to let anybody down. So you're like, oh shit, am I ready? So I remember suiting up and we all went out, and it was, I remember Chris Hartnell, the guy that basically trained me all up, as the other pilot, and they're pretty stern on you because they have to be to get you dialed in,
Right.
Training was very tough, and the call comes in. And we suit up and go out, and Chris, I remember him saying, hey, you got this one, because we were both still kind of staffing. He was like, you take it. So, it was a bread and butter call looking back on it, but it was out at Cowles Mountain. So we go up, and as we're flying out, the nerves are getting more and more, as you get there, Is
that because like he just gave it to you?
Yeah, he gave it to me.
Oh,
it wasn't the fact
shit.
that he just, I think he understood that it was time, so, and obviously, thankfully had the confidence that I was ready to go. So went out, did the high recon, low con, and we set up and we go in and hoist. I don't even remember who the medic was that day, but we hoist him in, and it was
really vivid.
It.
I vividly remember. I don't know who I was with though.
What a guy.
We put the rescue medic in, and they packaged him up, and we came back around for the evolution and hoisted him back in and flew off. And after there's so much training that we did after the call was over, I was like, well, that was it, But it's just because we trained so hard that when you actually get to the call itself, the call is easy, So, which is a good thing. It says a lot for our training program and all that you're on point when you go out there. So we do have, most of our calls are pretty straightforward because it's the same evolution, and you're just so used to doing it that it becomes second nature. So my first call probably wasn't as exciting. It was more anxiety ridden on my part.
That wasn't his first one, though. That was the first memorable one.
That's a significant.
That was 2 years ago.
But I would say mine was just. I had the same experience because we train and train and train the obvious redundancy of it for safety and just competency.
But I will say it was nice to get the first one out of the way. So it was like, all right, it's on now. Like we can. That's past us now, and now we can move on and just do our job here. So it was good.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Man, I appreciate you guys sharing those. Again, I love that first story. It could be saving a dog, saving a cat in a tree. And I had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
I love it. But I'll tell you what, you guys did you had this amazing rescue, which is what we're really here to talk about. And you were flying.
I was.
You were the hoist
operator.
Okay, hoist operator. And Tim, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to sit out on this one just for a little bit because you were not on scene, right?
I didn't even know they were working that day.
Oh, nice. Kicking it back, watching the game.
Yeah, I was in La La. I was probably in vacation.
I love it. I love it. All right, so Paul, Deke, you guys get called out for a cliff rescue. So tones drop, and what comes over the radio?
I mean, it was just our normal call. It's a call that we get very often down at Torrey Pines,
Black's
the
Beach,
glider port there. So it's a pretty common call. Other than, I believe the call came in with somebody clinging to the side of the cliff.
Oh, right on. Now, when you say a common, you get a lot of people down there that get hung up in like cliff rescue quite a bit.
It's probably like our autopilot 2.
No way.
Yeah, so it's all slick sandstone that goes into wet center, still water flowing, like runoffs.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of areas where the hills are just like rubbed down, and as soon as your feet go, you're going down 20 feet. That's like a mild fall there.
Wow.
And then you can have a 300-foot fall off the top. And then the cliffs have collapsed recently, so that and it was right along the trail, so if somebody would have been up there. But we probably go there.
It ebbs and flows, but I mean, a couple times a week is not uncommon for
I'm
us
sorry,
to
a couple times a week?
Yeah, I mean, the trails.
I mean, I know there's a lot of people down in San Diego,
stuff,
but geez.
Yeah. And a lot of them aren't significant injuries. It's just, it's a very hard spot to get to. So
Got it.
a lot of times we'll go hoist people in and hoist them out with an ankle injury or something somewhat insignificant, but it's just very hard to get them to the top of the hill or to the bottom. So it's we're a much better resource to bring in and get them out a lot quicker.
Oh,
so,
heck yeah. Because you guys are probably in and out in less than 2 minutes. And I might be exaggerating. All right, so hold on.
So to answer your question, so when the tones go off in our station, we've got our cell phones that go off too and give us all the information that we need. And usually it'll say, the term is open space rescue, and we meet up we have a little comm center where we've got two 60-inch screen or TVs up, our monitors up, and one has our weather, and so we pull all the details of the incident. So
nice.
The pilot Deke's checking weather, checking access, checking all of the variables that can positively or negatively impact our flight. And then, as my position as a crew chief, I'm gathering all the information, and it comes across on it's the same. We have basically like what do they call it? A tough book. It's just a laptop on all of our fire engines.
Okay.
Right. It gives us all of the information of the incident and radio channels and location and type of injury and that sort of stuff. Given that obviously we're not on a fire engine, but all that stuff comes through in our comm center, so we're able to gather all the information, where it's at, who we're with, and as we're doing that, we're putting our harnesses on, getting dressed, scanning the radio, trying to pick up as much information as we can before the incident. And I would say in general, and this one was right at, we'll call it twilight. I heard civil light, and I've heard failing light.
And pinky time.
And what is it?
Pinky time.
Pinky time.
Yeah.
And what's
sunset?
Sunset.
Yeah, but the pinky time is the sky turns pink.
Right.
Just before it goes dark.
Right.
Yeah. Twilight, pink time, all of those. Yeah.
So we have all our goggles set up. So as we're preparing for that incident, we're putting our goggles on. We're one of the only helicopters that operate on NVG.
That's
in the county.
In San Diego.
In San Diego.
Wow.
So we actually operate.
Does Tony Weber know this? Because I'm just kidding.
He goes to bed too early.
Oh, mic drop on. Tony Weber. What happened?
So
he doesn't even hear us flying over his house at night.
But so
sorry,
we go all around the county on NVG. But this one was familiar territory. We lifting blacks and it. But again, as we're en route there, it's the light as we're losing light, because it was a
nice night. It was just we were losing light. I mean, it was one of those where we could have been off goggles, but it was transitioning into goggles, so we didn't know
it was
what
just
we were
enough to
gonna
not.
have when
Yeah.
we get there.
You
Yeah,
put
we
goggles
couldn't-
down and you're like, it's just
It's
way
too
too
much.
bright.
You're
You gotta-
really going back
Yeah.
and forth trying
Yeah.
to pick them
Right,
up.
right.
And
Is that when you arrive on scene, or that's just takeoff?
Well, as we were flying out, we were
Okay.
losing light, so I would say, but from where we're based to Black's Beach is about a 4.5 minute flight, maybe
Yeah.
5 minute flight, so
Okay.
it's quick.
Okay.
So yeah, it's quick. So, I mean, continuing on, I guess, yeah, the call came in to just somebody, a cliff rescue open space, so somebody was clinging to the side of the mountain, or the side of the cliff there at Black's Beach.
so they have they're called or they refer to them as false trails, right? So they'll go down and, who knows why people get in certain predicaments. I guess that's why the fire department's there, right? Just because people do things that maybe they shouldn't be doing.
Right.
And this gentleman found himself in a supremely compromised position. He, when we roll up, they the ground crews as well as the lifeguards, because we roll in conjunction with the lifeguards. The lifeguards they run the incident during the day, and then once it goes to night, the fire department runs the cliff rescues in the city of San Diego. And so they were both there. We had our rescue response go, and given the urgency of the incident, because once we rolled overhead, like, this guy literally was clinging to like a spire, a false trail that he had like slid down, and like Tim had said, on the sandstone is super slick.
Yeah.
This guy had kicked his shoes off, like he was hanging on, and his next fall was 150.
Yeah, probably at least.
Wow.
It was
certain
it was going to be a good fall. I mean, probably not survivable. Fall.
unsurvivable fall.
Wow.
And so, what's funny is, not funny, what's unique about what we do, right, is, we've actually had the fortune to fly around. We've had a couple new battalion chiefs promoted, and given them a run and hoisted with them and be able to show them what exactly we have going on. Because the conversations that we have going on, kind of the thoughts that we have going on, and it's funny because, Deke and I have worked together in a short amount of time, but we're pretty simpatico as far as like working with each other. He's a great partner, and I think that we fortunately have had a good run of incidents together. So I'm well aware of his skill set as he is mine. So we both have high level of confidence with each other.
Yeah.
But still, no matter how confident you are, I think there's always we better get this one right.
Yeah.
Because if we don't,
yeah.
this dude's in trouble.
Right.
And that's on us, right? Because that fall he is in a stable position and then turns into a fatal fall, right? Due to our mismanagement or mismaneuvering or miscommunicating in any way, shape, or form. So I think in a way we're all kind of thinking it, going, we got to be on, like, game on like it's never been before, because majority of the calls that we go on, because of our training, I want to say, face it, inherently our job is high risk, right? So we're taking off an helicopter. We're either, it's not only being, whether it's day or night, on goggles at night, and even during the day, right? We're lowering someone on a cable. So we've got, that has inherent dangers. And then on top of it, when you add some complexity to the locations, it really ramps or ratchets what we need, what finites our communication and our what's the word I'm looking for? Just knowing that he's got to be on, I got to be on, Tim's got to be on, and we're all communicating. Crew resource management. There's like, we're all taking in all input, and in this case, when we saw this guy, we're like, well, we got to go now. And every time that we were orbiting, it was just getting darker and darker, because it went from like, okay, but in a sense where it was getting, like we were saying, dark. But when I would drop my goggles down, I'm like, well, this isn't helping, because I can't see. It's not dark enough, but it's not light enough.
Right.
So it was quite challenging.
And on these calls, I mean, obviously we're constantly reevaluating. I mean, in seconds, I mean, we're reevaluating like what's the best procedure and stuff. So on the way out, we usually prepare to do a screamer suit, which is
Yep.
basically a screw suit that you put through their legs, and then that's like a seat
Big
that
diaper.
they ride up.
Yeah.
Big giant
very
diaper with
familiar
it.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
in those cases, when we see a person like this where there's no stable platform or anything where the rescue medic can stand there or get the suit on them, then it turns into a quick capture, which elevates your level of, things need to go right
Yeah.
in that situation.
Which and why I brought that up is when we're flying overhead, people don't really know what's happening in the cabin,
Right.
right? Because you
Agreed.
can't hear the communication. You can't feel what's going on because obviously there's communication.
Yeah.
But there's a palpable dude, we got, like I said, we got to get this right if we're going
There's
to
an
do this.
urgency
There's an
there.
urgency to it.
Like, we have got to move.
And then the IC, the incident commander is like, okay, yeah, if we can have you guys, we'll probably do this and this. And I'm going like,
With we do, it's a calculated urgency, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's urgent. We know it has to be urgent, but you have to receive all the information and make
Right.
the best calculated judgments on what the best way to do it
Yep.
is in a short
Yep.
amount of time.
Yep.
To in fact get the safest evolution that we can get out of the given situation in a short amount of time.
Agreed.
Right? So
it's where you take your checklist and you just tend to expedite it just a skosh.
Yeah, I mean-
Enough to be like,
well,
we're good in the back? Yep. Check. Let's go.
and we flew around it more than we would usually.
And we
just
did it. It wasn't
again.
a rush.
Yeah.
I mean, we still do our normal procedure. We just know the sense of urgency of the guy. Once we flew over and saw that he was clinging onto the side of the
Right.
cliff with his toes and his hands, we knew immediately we had to go into a quick capture situation.
Yep. Now, when you say capture strap, is that what you're using?
It's the
Okay.
quick strap.
Oh, the
we
quick
have
strap.
the quick strap,
Okay.
and then we have the CMC strap
Hot
as well.
seat. Hot seat or?
We have the Helitac hot seat.
Okay.
We have the airbag that we call the Bauman, just because that's
yep.
what it used to be.
Yep.
And then our quick capture, and then we have the quick strap.
Okay. Got
So
it.
the quick capture has no netted diaper or anything like that.
No,
It's just straight across,
Yeah.
tension,
Yep.
bear hug, and go.
Okay. So for those that don't know, we got a couple things. So the quick strap made by LSC, it's strapped connected to the hook, and you can slide it around somebody and then slide the friction keeper down. The capture strap comes around, it's a big meat hook into a big a D-ring or O-ring. Drop that in, pull it tight, and then we go from there. So you're looking at capture strap this guy off the rock.
Yeah, that's the only way. And
Okay.
and our medic, Steve Vanderwall, who's close to retirement as well, and he's long been in air operations for 20 plus.
Since the start, he was on the inception.
Yeah, stellar human,
Okay.
outstanding guy. If you want to, he's
Send him my way,
yeah,
man.
he's
Come on, let's go.
he's one when you got him on the hook, I can trust that he's doing all that needs to be done. You know what I mean? Like
Beautiful.
there's no question, right?
Yeah.
So
He's gonna get him.
Steve's gonna get him.
He's gonna get him.
He's going to get his hooks on him. So, yeah, and I think that as we saw how this individual's position was on the spire or on the rock or cropping, we knew that we had to go and that there was no time for guards or our rescue to set up any type of over-the-side rope rescue. Because in that case, right, we always say to the incident commanders or the people we've been trained, like, we are a resource to a rescue incident, and anything can go wrong, or not wrong, go awry if we're up, right? We get a chip light, or we've got things that any other variable that impacts us, we're like, it's a no-go situation. It's like, sorry, you guys are gonna have to rope them out. But in this case, it was not that. It wasn't that type of incident. More so, I don't know if you could see from that perspective, like they couldn't see over the side to see like how compromised he was. Like, dude was hanging on, and had he had any more wrong movement, he was going to fall to death.
But as coming in, I mean, we start evaluating that situation, and then, I mean, it goes through your head. I mean, are we going to do more harm than good by, I mean, if the helicopter gets over, like, how clung in there is he, But, I mean, we're pretty much his only option. But we knew we were going to have to, like Paul said, do it right the first time. We had one shot at it, basically, So, we set up and
we set up.
for it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was like, "Holy shit! All right, let's go. Let's do it.
Let's go."
And I think we all are like, "All right, let's go. Let's go."
Yeah.
And so after we go through all of our we go through our checklist, you know, and once it was game time, and you know, I think that we were on the 412, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the 412.
We happened to be on the 412, which I'd be curious to see how that would have what the outcome would have been in the Hawk, right?
It's a little more downwash than
Right.
Blackhawk. I promise you that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, just happened to be that, you know, and so as we come over and make our approach, I mean, Deke was nuts on. Was really just it was cool, in a sense that as I'm giving directions, and we could tell the not urgency, criticalness. What's another word
Yeah,
for it? Yeah, just we were on, and he was flying as good as you could fly, and now as I'm giving the inputs, you know, and as you do a quick capture, right? We want to come in below the victim or patient or individual. We want to come in below, because if we go in over top and we drop on top of them, obviously, you
knock
can
them off.
knock them off.
Yeah.
And the again, not funny thing, but funny thing was as we're coming up, he's reaching out, and Steve's like, "No, don't reach out! Like, keep holding on." And you can't yell that. I mean, he can't hear, right? I mean, you got a helicopter overhead, and he's like, "Stay holding." You want to say like, "Stay holding on," so I could just come around you and latch our harness. But
And I mean, it gets back to, I mean, as flying out, this was one of the first rescues that we had done with the Axnex system.
Yep.
So we had been having some troubles with wireless comms and whatnot in the past, so we didn't necessarily really trust what we had.
Okay.
Before this call and going out, we had done some testing and stuff with Axis, and it seemed to work great. So as we're going out there, you know, we're like, well, I mean, we were just thinking it was going to be a normal rescue off of, you know, the cliffs. So as we did our recon and stuff, when we started inserting, I mean, we had wireless comms and everything seemed to go, but in the past we'd been having issues, not with the access system, but with our previous. So none of us really, we always depended on hand signals, you know, head and hand signals. And that's still our go-to, you know, but, you know, it's nice in this particular situation as it was getting dusk and we started in for our evolution. It was that in-between phase where the goggles weren't really working, but the shadows were super heavy, so you couldn't really see down in there.
Got it.
And I think we were, 120, 130 feet
Oh,
above,
wow.
which is our horse profile is about 150 feet. So flying into the hill and the sun's back here, so we had really bad shadows, and it's really fine dirt there. So once we got overhead, and that's what makes it more interesting with the quick capture, is you actually got to fly them in below, bring them up, and then kind of pin them against the hillside, keep the pressure on them with the helicopter. So our communication is key in that situation, to keep our medic pinned against the patient once we get them to that.
And not too close to touch the cable of the rock.
You know,
So
So we got over and had a pretty strong angle back down to where, you know, in the shades and the angles.
So that was that was the other part, right? Because as we're actually flying beyond the cliff, right?
Yeah.
As the trajectory of the cable. So I remember as I'm hoisting and looking down, I'm looking farther and farther in between my legs, like underneath the skid.
Yeah.
Going like giving the inputs. And we had briefed it, you know, like, hey, I'll bring Steve up, and we'll have him. I don't even remember what our brief was, but I know that it was like, hey, because we gotta get short on him, right below him, and then I'll bring him up so he can make capture, and then once we have capture, to kind of hold him against the wall and then kind of peel away.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, and so this is kind of where Axness was, you know, one of the things, like I said, whenever we hoist and we go out training, like we'll fly around and say we drop Tim off, and we pick spots and we'll do an insertion and we'll drop him off, and then I'll say, you know, hey, you got me on comms, Tim? And I'm like, yeah, I got you. And we're flying around, which is cool because there's no push to talk. It's just as we're talking right now. So I think it's a huge benefit, because in the past we've totally relied on hand signals, right? And or the we call them HRM, the helicopter rescue medic.
Yeah.
Our medics don't know what we're saying or what's happening or what's
Right.
going. But now they're a part of, even if they're not giving any input, they're a part of the conversation. They can hear.
Yes.
They can hear me. They can hear Deke when we're communicating to each other. And I get, in a sense, and there's a reason for having limited input, because you don't want to add another person into what we got going on, because
Right.
we don't have time for it.
Right.
Really, and or it's one more, like I said, variable that can either positively or negatively impact the incident. So, but at this time, we didn't brief, then we don't brief. Historically, our protocol is basically once they make capture,
Yep.
they do a head shake, a big head wag,
Okay.
but in the dark, and there was no contrast because this dude was wearing dark. So our flight medics have, the dark blue flight suit with a
Yeah.
dark blue helmet, and this
Yeah.
dude had a dark flannel or sweatshirt or whatever with a backpack on. So I couldn't see any contrast. I couldn't tell. And we're kicking up sand, and it was failing light. So I was really like, dude, I couldn't tell if he was. I knew he was below him, but I didn't know like how much I had to bring him up. And from 150 or 130 feet, trying to figure out like, do I bring him up or do I bring him low? And this is the most critical part of the call, because if
Yeah.
I pull him up and he doesn't have him, he's gone.
Right. Right.
Dude's gone.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, it just kind of clicked on like a light. I'm like, dude, he's got access. And I just said, oh, Steve, what did I say? You got him? You got him?
You got him?
You got him?
Yeah.
I probably said it 3 times because I try to be as cool, calm, and collected as,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that was a pretty high risk call, so I was a little more communicative than usual, which is funny because one of my tells is being less communicative. As I get more stress put on me, I usually clam up a little more versus being more. But I just kind of said, hey, you got him? You got him? And Steve's like, up. And I'm like thinking to myself, up. Does up mean all the way up? Or does up mean just up a little bit so I can make connection?
Yeah.
Again, I don't want him to lose connection with this person. But I brought him up just enough. We had enough tension against the wall.
Yeah.
And so as I brought him up a little bit, I could kind of see. And then he's like, I got him. And then I'm like, okay, we're good. Like,
Dude,
huge
that over the
sigh.
radio. I got him.
Got him.
Oh my god.
Up, got him. That was it. Because if I couldn't, he was, and again, if you're flying at 130 feet, or, Steve's 130 feet below me with a patient, the difference between a foot of whether we knock him off or not is huge.
Yeah.
And so being able to kind of give him a little bit more, because I could see he was kind of around him. He was trying to get around him. But once he made capture. And so since then, well, we'll get into that later, the changes we've made because of the potential access has given us.
With verbiage wise, as far as
Right.
rely on hand signals, but we've changed our verbiage a little bit for instances like that where we are to lose somebody or to lose
visual contact.
reference with somebody. I mean, we do everything we can to try that, but we've changed our verbiage to clean it up so we know
Nice.
exactly what, in
Right.
that situation if it happens. So
So now it's slack tension capture.
Wow.
Right? Because now I need to know. I needed him to lift up up. Like, was it just a little bit to get under his arms?
So tension is the call.
Tension or
If
slack?
you need to go down, I need a little slack.
Yeah, slack.
Oh man,
Tension, tension.
I'm gonna steal those. Can I steal those?
Yeah.
The nice thing
Okay,
about
cool.
it is it separates the verbiage of
Yeah.
them. So you don't hear up or down,
Right.
which is their calls back and forth.
Yeah.
So one of the things is we identify who's saying it, because the medics normally weren't in that conversation. So it'd be medicals and tension. And he'll take it up, and then I've got capture.
Guys, I freaking love it.
Mm-hmm. And then once they say capture
Yeah.
versus the head wag.
Yeah.
Because, dude,
With-
I couldn't see his head going back and forth. And I'm like, you got him? And he's like, up. I got him. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we got him. And it was kind of funny because it was a summer evening. So everyone's on the cliffs watching this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, at Torrey Pines and Black's Beach is like, everyone goes there for the sunset. So it was like
and where we are at the cliffs, like he was down far enough that we were 130, 140 feet above him. but the helicopter's level with the very top of the cliff, so the people are
right there.
like right.
We're like right at the people.
You're like, he's looking down. You're looking at the people who winking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holding his Instagram handle out the window.
Follow me at this.
Yeah.
But it was funny, you know, but not funny. The once we had captured them, you know, we brought them up just enough. You know, I don't think I said clear all obstacles. I just said we're clear to fly away. I brought them up a little bit.
And as he's bringing them up from the cliffs, right? I mean, protocol's always coming up and away from the train, and then we got the ocean to fly out over it and keep bringing them.
Yeah.
Right, but we couldn't. You can't fly away. You know, you can't turn around and about face at that point. And our hoist profile is dynamic, right? So we're flying. We don't come overhead and then go into a hover and do a lower.
Yeah, no.
Right?
I don't.
So,
I don't like that. This is a personal thing. I don't like that technique. I'm going to tell you mine here in a second.
So we do a dynamic hoist profile where we're flying in, and so Deke's coming in over Blacks, over the Pacific Ocean, and into, I think at that point it was a northwest kind of crab sideways,
a little bit
towards the victim, and then when we got him, that was a huge sigh of relief. We lifted him up and landed right on the. I didn't bring them all the way up, you know. We just
okay.
So we don't at that point we try to keep them as low to the
in the quick capture profile that we're doing. It was a better option just to short haul him up to a safe spot to put him down than versus bringing him all the way back up into
I get it. For those that have never ridden in the capture drop, it sucks. And especially the dude's hanging on the rock, so you're coming in from behind to connect, and as soon as you tighten that up, if you get it underneath the rib cage, you can't breathe. Like you as a victim, so you got to be higher than that, and then you're crushing their chest anyway. So they're like, Now
so that dude, we landed. That dude, I think he kissed the ground. He hugged Steve. He was so stoked because it wasn't an injury, right? Most people we go on, they're injured. This dude wasn't injured. He was like, you could tell him he was ecstatic to be on the ground. He hugged Steve. He grabbed his back and he ran. It's like, whoa, wait, come here. We're not done, dude. Because he was like, you know, and everyone on the cliff was like watching this thing. Yeah, dude. They're like, oh my gosh, dude. It was a really significant incident, and I think for certain, Axis played a huge role in being able to execute that without life or damage to life or property in any way, shape, or form. And it just so happened that because we just got Axis, thanks to Tim, on our Hawk, which we didn't have before. We were transitioning from another comm system, but again, oddly, we just happened to be in our 412, which has Axis. So had we not been on the 412, that incident would have, if we had not had that communication, it would have been way different. Like, I'm not saying we would have been able to do it or there's certain death involved, but it was definitely a huge positive to be able to say, dude, you got him?
Yeah,
I got him.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, because the head wag wasn't working, dude.
Yeah.
Head wag, failing light, goggles, and sand were all of that stuff. It just kind of made for a unique situation. So, I think we got back and we're like, oh my gosh, dude, that was gnarly.
What do you want for dinner?
Which is funny. What are we eating for dinner now? Right? We just go back to doing whatever we do.
Yeah.
And my God, you guys. I was pumped. I really think that was one of my that was my most critical hoist. So speaking of what's the most memorable rescue or whatever, that one for certain was the most impactful for me as a crew chief in air operations, because that one was everyone had to be on, and the outcome was huge, and then enough to be able to give input, because we train we train quick captures that are done the real thing. You know what I mean? You can't, we can go, we can put a couple, someone out on a rock and we'll go, hey, we're going to go ahead and vector them against the rock and do the head wag. But dude, it's different when you put a life or death consequence on that, which, not to sound dramatic, but it was. I mean, dude, had that guy fell, and it was funny because then when we all came back, we could kind of breathe. And we're like, dude, were you thinking holy shit, I was? And then, dude, because if it goes wrong, Dude,
Front row
how
seat.
do you? Yeah, how do you? I've
Yeah.
seen too many not cool things,
Right.
and that would have been one that probably would have put me over the top.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was a real good one. And so again, now that when I talk about having significant incidents or being in the trenches with each other, like it builds a bond, you know.
Right,
And so
right.
you know, like what our capabilities are, you know, and as you gain more trust and strength in each other, you're like, yeah, dude, let's do it, whatever we got. But it also, you know, like we had calls the other night where
Yeah, I was just going to mention that.
We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Axnis. The Axnis PNG wireless ICS system delivers cutting-edge wireless ICS technology to any aircraft as a fully integrated system or as a carry-on, carry-off mobile base station. The PNG wireless system is the right solution for any mission.
The other night,
You know,
we had a call.
when we make calls, we can trust each other that we're making the right call. There's no like, well, what's he really thinking, or why is he doing that?
Yeah, yeah.
Because the more that we run these incidents together, the more we're able to go, one, be on a non-spoken, like, understanding, like, what are you thinking? Like, I'm already thinking, like, no, dude, this is a no-go. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or I'm
yeah.
already thinking, like, we're going.
Right.
And he's probably thinking the same thing
Yeah.
as we work more together.
Yeah.
And to paint the picture for what he was just talking about the other night, we go out at night. It wasn't super late, but it was dark, and it was
9:30 at night.
way out in East County. So it's out in the mountains, way out east. Not a very common place for us to go in the middle of the night, you know? I mean, it's common, but not all that frequently that we're going out there. And we get a call that there's a hiker missed, and we rolled up on scene, and we did, I think, 3 laps around it, and we were both like, that's not a hoistable spot, because the patient's
Cantilever.
dog went down into a rock crevasse, like way down in, and just with the light and the terrain, it was super steep and down in these jagged rocks. And then within 5 minutes, you know, of doing a couple laps around it and assessing it, we were both like, this isn't a night hoist operation here, just only because we couldn't get Dre down between
Yeah.
all the rocks and get it in there. You know,
Yeah,
the
we're the-
risk versus reward
Right.
was just way too high in that situation. So that's what's nice, being on the same page. You know,
Right.
it's a group effort to say yes, but more so to say no.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And
You
I-
got to be able to do that.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't think about the 5 Marines, unfortunately, that crashed and lost their lives because we're just across the freeway from them.
Yeah.
So as we're going out on goggles, right away we're trying to. Our job is to do risk analysis, right? Right away, like
right.
what's the risk, what's the reward, and again, for the patient or the victim on blacks, like we needed to go. There was urgency to it. There was a time wedge there that we needed to act now. The call we went on the other night, I think is one of the things, and we get great support from our administration, great support from our higher ups.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
That's so good to hear.
Chief McFarland and Chief Lozano, and I know all of San Diego Fire Rescue administration really allows us the mobility and latitude to make these decisions, because they're like, I've had to call our shift commander, which is the one that's in charge, in the middle of the night at 2:30 in the morning, and be like, hey, this is what we have presented to us and why we're denying the mission, or what our concerns are, or can we get this, or whatever. And they've been super supportive and super cool. I've never had any backlash of going like, hey dude, why there may be a why didn't you do it, but not in a sense of like, why didn't you do that?
Yeah, what's wrong with
or
you?
what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
It was
Are you
more
not
of like,
good enough?
hey dude, because we want to play.
Right. No,
Dog wants to hunt. Like, let's go. Let's go.
Totally.
And we're all like we want to do it, but within reason. And I think that given there's been a lot of air tragedies in our region.
Yeah.
We've had a couple Cal Fire in close proximity. We had the
San Diego Sheriff.
Yep.
225, that one. And then recently the Marines.
Then the Marines,
Yep.
and then there was
There was a A-Star?
private A-Star that was flying out for the Super Bowl, right? That hit wires or something off the
I didn't
15.
hear about that.
That was at 130. That was over more Palm Springs area. But
Right.
Oh.
recent.
So
Okay.
but a lot of weather particular, incidents. But remove the weather, right? I think it's always kind of a concern. I've got a wife and three. I've got a wife and 3 boys, young boys that I know that depend on me coming home, and we all depend on each other to make sound judgment decisions, to know that we're operating in best practices using, hazard mitigation and risk analysis in all of our action plans. Yeah. And, again, where's this going to be in 15 minutes, half hour. And then again, the other day when we had a patient that was, on NVG in I wouldn't say unfamiliar terrain, but familiar enough to know that this isn't like our Black's Beach or our Cowles Mountain or our Potato Chip Rock or whatever. This was hey, we're flying literally across from Kitchen Creek, where that there's a super stallion that went down, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And then now we're flying around with trying to get a guy that, the outcome was, he lost his dog down a little, we'll call it crevasse, because it was. I mean, he slipped down this rock chute. His dog fell down it, and then he went down after his dog, and he couldn't get out. And then he was able to make the call on his cell phone. And then we get overhead, and we're like, dude, we'd have to fish our med again. Oh, yeah, no. And there's no way to do that. But he wasn't injured. It was cold. Yeah. And then so fortunate, again, when we rely on each other, and I'm like, hey, Deke, I'm feeling what I'm feeling. Yeah, we're not good on this. But in the sense, because the urgency and the time wedge didn't present itself, right? Because that person, the urgency of health and safety, he was just stuck.
Yeah. And that's part of it, I think. But the other part of it is there was just no good hoistable spot to hoist. Yeah. So, I mean, even if it would have been a more urgent situation, there just wasn't a good presentation for a hoist there. So
even at that, I say it on this podcast all the time, their emergency, not our emergency. No. We need to come home. Right. We're here to help in every possible way that we can. Right. We are, as my brother Matt Thiessen would say, we are professional problem solvers. That's what we do. Right. But your emergency is not my emergency, and I'm not going to make your emergency my emergency.
Yeah, add to the emergency.
Yeah. And I have flown away from scenes as well, kind of irritated and bummed or pissed off or whatever, and you're like, you know what, man, I'm going home. Right. Why am I mad?
I think in a way, we always kind of we always bounce questions off each other to validate or substantiate. Or go, hey, am I making the right call? Right. But at the end of the day, one is that, in a sense where, I was like, hey, Deke, can we land? Because there was a CAL FIRE battalion chief down there. And I was like, hey, I'd like to have a face-to-face with him if we can. So he was like, yeah, dude, I'll land. And we landed right next to him, which is great because we could see this guy on the hill because he's got his cell phone light on, and we could see him up on the hill. Nice. And I was like, hey, chief, does he have can we talk to him? We have no idea how he got there, what his resources are, is he injured, why he's there, it was kind of, you know what I mean? We're just flying overhead of this dude and he's stuck. Yeah. And it was essentially because he was in the little crevasse, but he was the term he was, when you tree a cat or if a skier's cliffed that they've gone, or our guy at Black's down a false cliff and the next movement's down, he couldn't go down because he was cliffed. Yeah. But he was inside a little cantilever crevasse where you could see him in the crack, but we were unable to get him. But once we were able to land, I was like, hey, chief, can we call him? And I called him. And I was like, hey, Paul Shuttleworth, I'm a crew chief for San Diego Fire on the helicopter. Hey, I just want to ask you a couple questions. And I would ask him is he injured? You just do a quick little battery of an assessment, right? A medical assessment to either upgrade or downgrade the call. He was totally stable. He seemed like he was more concerned about his dog, right? And so this is starting to paint the picture of urgency or lack thereof, right? Yeah. So I'm going okay, well, this guy's not meeting our criteria. Or, unfortunately, he had gone out and he didn't have, he was probably in the 40s at that point. I mean, this was last week. Okay. So he in the East County, San Diego, in the mountains, he's in the 40s. He had a T-shirt. He had no water. He had no food. And he was stuck. And it's well, dude, he's going to be cold for a couple hours because they got to send ground crews in. And they did. They ended up getting ground crews in. And that's the moral of the story was.
But they got him out, right?
They got him out.
It doesn't matter how you do it. get them out.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So yeah,
That's cool.
it's and like I said, we're down to do it. And when we can't do it, it's with damn good reason. And we have the support, the administrative support that supports our decisions.
Yeah.
Where I'm not ever like scratching my head going, oh man, I hope I don't get a call from so and so.
Right.
But even if I do, I'm at the point in my career, like I said, I've worked to get to the position to make. I think that was my interview question or questions. Like how do you mitigate risk and hazard and what's your process? And for me, I think I truly said, I'm at the point in my life where, not only in my career, but personally and professionally, that I can say no to these things and not let my ego get in the way. That could compromise a decision making by going, oh dude, we can do this, versus going like, hey, we got to make a profound decision that can either negatively or positively impact not only the victim or patient, but us.
Right.
Well,
you know what? Let's throw something else in there, which is kind of, I'm going to usually write funny. It's kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, I love that word because it kind of, it really highlights how we have to get through things.
Right.
It's funny, man. It's not funny, but it's funny.
No, you got to find humor in everything, right? And I think it helps.
Especially with what
therapeutic.
We do. Totally.
It is therapeutic.
But all right, so let's change the scenario, or same scenario, right? But you get a chip light. You staying? No. You leave.
Right.
We get a chip light. We're leaving. So there's no difference with it. You've just made a decision based on the information that you have, period.
Right.
So, come on, hoist brakes. Well, we're not hoisting. We're leaving. We're going home.
Right.
Hey, find another option.
Yeah.
And I think people, you know what? I'm going to say me. I think for me, when I get on scene, if the aircraft is working and I've got somebody down there, I want to go do something. And if we make the conscious decision and I haven't even tried to go do something, it's just a shitty situation, I'm like, man, what if we could have? What if we could have? But if we had a chip light, there would have been no question. No, we gotta go. Mm-hmm. And that's where, I think that's where that comes up. And I'm with you. Their emergency, not my emergency.
Yeah.
So,
we certainly don't want to add to that.
Nope. So I want to circle back to the Cliff Rescue for a couple things. The first one is you were talking hand signals. I love your hand signals. Now, one of the things about Axnest specifically is I love to be on comms as the rescueman, but I don't like to actually talk back. Now, you'd mentioned it as well. You don't want to have one more person in on ICS that's talking over everybody else. But if you ask me a question, I'm like, yes, I give you a thumbs up. That means yes. I give you a thumbs down. Oh, no, he's not good. Mm-hmm. Or if a wave off or something, I'm giving you a hand signal that we know. But if it's you ask me a question and I just give you a hand signal back. And I love the fact that you guys already do that. Mm-hmm. The other one is you were talking about so communication with your in and out. So hoist cables go in and out. Helicopters go up and down. Slack and tighten. Tension. Oh my gosh, that is brilliant.
Yeah, slack and tension.
Never even thought about it. I absolutely love it. I'm totally stealing that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say it was mine.
That was please do.
It was actually trademarked by Ricky Bobby Inc.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
all right, you guys can have it.
It's like a capture. You're out.
Yeah. But that was a huge concern. of the lingo because if it's not direct who's saying it, but if we know slack or tension, it's immediate, we know, or the crew chief knows, that it's coming from the
Oh, that's great. So, and for everybody that's listening, I hope you guys can take that as well. That is brilliant. I absolutely love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Slack and tension.
Slack on line or tension line. That kind of came from our rescue operations.
Rope rescue,
Yeah, rope rescue.
Oh, it's great.
Stuff. It's particular to the hoist, right? So again, there's no mix up of where it's coming from or who.
Right.
So
there's other hand signals that I go back and forth with the circle of HUD.
So you do that.
Yeah.
But it's funny you remind me because from our perspective, and I remember when we were going through our academy, when you see this, a lot of times when they're doing this, you can't really tell the difference.
So this is a finger circle up or finger circle down.
But I can't tell from my vantage point whether they're doing this.
So then they do an arm lift or a down, like a down, a circle
it would
down,
have to be
or
like, an
yeah.
up. Yeah, so
There's a whole bunch.
so we've gotten away from any of this because this can, I don't know.
So this
but
would
now
be
that there's
circles and
axis,
circles, hand circles. Yep.
I
Sorry,
would
because
say-
this is people that are listening. They
Right.
can't see you do
Right,
hand signals
right,
right,
right.
now. I can explain this. What I'm seeing.
circle the
Cowboy it up.
Yeah, cowboy circle.
Swing
Yeah.
your lasso.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that when, like, if you get into hoist and then or short haul, you're like aircraft. Like, what's an aircraft up? I'm bringing my arms up for aircraft up.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I need for cable in? So cable in, I need a different. Okay, now I'm using one hand signal. So you got to be careful of like what hand signals are what. So they again come back to your tension slack. I love it. Helicopters go up and down, or climb and descend.
Sure.
Get it?
Yeah.
Hoist cables go in and out, and now you have tension slack for the guy on the hook.
Right.
Dude, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
And yeah, I think historically and the majority of the time, there's really little input from the HRMs. You know what I mean? To
Right.
eliminate
Yeah.
the air. You
Yeah.
know, and it's incumbent upon the crew chief to be able to identify like, hey, you need to be up or you need to be down.
Right.
Or
Right.
you know.
We did have one just a couple weeks ago at night again in what we call the Ho Chi Minh Trail, which is a big slot canyon basically that's down to the side of the cliffs there. And we were Paul and I were inserting a rescue medic Barry in there. And it was a challenging one. It was night and it's tight in there and we were in the Hawk. And just having the axe nest for comms was because it was a very challenging, and the patient was kind of on the downside of an overhang.
Yeah.
Here
It was a
and he
cantilever.
flying, and we got just a little bit of a swing going in there.
On
the
purpose?
hook. No,
Oh,
It was a spin.
It was a
It
spin.
was a
Sorry,
spin,
yeah.
not a swing.
Okay.
And I'll
Because
let you
that's
finish
'cause-
the story. I was flying, so I couldn't see him, but
Yeah.
it was.
I got you.
And again, right? You're trying to execute this, and much like Deke was saying, like Barry Links, who was our medic, who I love dearly, is academy mate and is just an outstanding human in general, right? I'm like, I don't want to let these guys down. If I got any one of
Yeah.
them on the hook, I don't want them swinging. I don't want them spinning. I want them to have total trust in what I'm doing and how I'm handling their safety.
Yeah.
And so we had kind of incurred a little bit of a spin.
It was a train driven. I mean, it's a big box chute coming down. So I mean, the rotor wash caught up. We got slow a little bit on purpose because it was a super steep drop down hang. So
yeah, we had to clear the cantilever. So we kind of had to hang overhead a little bit as I'm inserting Barry. He picked up a swing. Again, this is another kind of I wouldn't say critical incident as far as the particulars of the incident, but I would say critical as a real challenging hoist. Probably the most challenging of our area, doing that, not only that trail, but that part of the trail. Again,
Wow, yeah.
me and Deke seem to get some good, like,
we have been lately, yeah.
we get some good ones where it's really like, it's cool. We're up for the challenge.
That's awesome.
But because of Axe Nest, we were able to. Barry was like, "Hey, dude, I was moments from waving off."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because he goes, once I lose reference and he starts spinning,
Yeah.
he's like, I don't know, and he's on goggles,
Right.
So he's looking for his target as we're putting him in.
He's on goggles on the hook?
Yeah,
Nice.
snarly,
Yeah.
dude. They're so yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's not normal for me. It's not something I usually do.
yeah, so
It's a constant back and forth.
Yeah.
So like you're picking up hazards and targets,
Yeah.
and then by the time you get to your target, you can kind of see under the goggles with the searchlight.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then you have to worry about whacking the wire with the goggles hanging off the front of the helmet and everything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that incident was I think subdued because of Axe Nest, and Barry could hear us communicating, and he goes, dude, when we were done and we have our AARs, because after every flight we have our AARs, what would have done, what would you like about it, what you didn't like about it, and whatever, or what could we have done different. And Barry was like, dude, if I didn't, because of your guys' communication, I could hear the calmness in your voice and your delivery, that I was like, I'm good. Even though he's like, I wasn't good, But because you were good, I was good. And I think that that's a big part, is when they're able to hear our communication and realize, like, you know, how much are they committing?
Yeah.
Right? Because if he can hear me being like, like kind of like give this like janky cadence on the way in, he's like, dude, what's Shuttleworth doing up there?
Can we abort this?
Totally.
Yeah.
And so that's what he said. He goes, you know, and then and at the same time, again, we're not all communicating it for good reason, because not to one that I don't know if it was particularly necessary, but we know that we're like, dude, I only want to do this once.
Yeah.
Because if we got to do this again, we're still going to incur spin. There's still going to be the challenges. Like, we got to do this right the first time. Yep. And we were all kind of thinking that as we're going into that last hoist. And because of Axness Barry being able to hear Deke and I's communication, you know, it
gave him the sense of calmness that he could tell that we were working through it. We knew it was a challenging one, and we knew that he had incurred a little bit of a spin, but we weren't out of the fight. It was nothing dangerous yet, or the position wasn't bad. It was just a challenging one, and he could hear that we were working it out together with small movements and inputs. Yep. So he was able to stick in there a little bit longer versus not having the comms. It would have been like, what the hell is going on up there? You know?
Yeah.
I
love
pretty
it.
Cool.
Dude, I love being on Axness. One more thing I almost forgot when we talked about it. When back to the rescue of the dude hanging, right? So Coast Guard wise, this is my world in the Coast Guard, is when we have the guy, and it's usually a quick strap that we use, ready for pickup. So for you guys captured, I've got them. It's ready to lose positive contact. So I'll literally point away from the cliff, and instead of hoisting up or down or in or out, we'll just slowly move away from the cliff to come away. Is that what you guys do? Okay, done. So we are talking the exact same language. It's a beautiful maneuver.
Which sounds good on paper, but when you have a cliff that does, you know, there's it like I said, it's always, you know, it's never like we train, right? Even in the fire department, like we train like ladders and like open concrete areas, but in the real life, when you're throwing a ladder down a 5-foot walkway with cars parked and fences and pit bulls and
trash cans,
you know, and air conditioning units, you know what I mean? Or even when we do hose lay, it's like, hey, we'll do this hose lay and do whatever, and then, you know, you bring that to hoisting, right? In the ideal world, when you're like, oh yeah, when we bring it to a cliff, it's going to be a flat cliff face, and or even like the call there tonight, like, oh, it's going to be whatever, and then I'm like, I don't even think I've ever even seen that type of rock formation before. I'm like, well, I don't even know what to call that. We were like, that's a crevasse. That's what you call that. Like, I'm like, dude, we don't have crevasses in sand. Like, people are listening to a crevasse. What are these guys talking about? There's a big crack in the rock, but it was. I mean, it's very unique, the things that you see. Yeah. And from our, you know, vantage point. And again, then you throw goggles on, and it's just unbelievable. I still trip out. Like, I'm like going, dude, if my wife saw what I'm doing right now, then she would just...
Dude, my wife doesn't even ask me. Right. I don't even want to know. I don't want to know. Dude, I love it.
But yeah, we're back to your point. I mean, that is always our goal. I mean, obviously always a straight pull, but once he's up, I mean, up and away from the given terrain to get him flying again. Yeah.
Right. It's just to get him away from the cliff and any obstacles and stuff. But man, we're on point. You guys are legit. So, circling back. Tim, I'm going to bring you into this conversation now. Why did you choose the Axness system to come in? And I know we're running a little bit long here, but I'm digging this, man. I geek into this stuff, guys. It's like I can't get enough of it. But for Axness system, so what made you pull that?
So in 2018, we came to HAI here, and we were finishing out the build out of our S70i at the time, and so we ended up not going the normal route and just going to UR and saying, hey, we want this helicopter. Yep. We went to Sikorsky and bought the airframe, and then came with the hoist, and then we put the tank on later. We had Hangar 1 do all of our avionics stuff, packaged for us and everything. So we were kind of looking around, and at HAI found Axness, and probably spent about 2 hours speaking with the reps and just kind of really getting into the weeds on everything on the functions and what it did and how it wasn't quite an EPIRB, but you had this even better technology that anybody within 50 miles is going to know where you are, which in San Diego, there's a boat within 10 miles, you know, and there's aircraft everywhere. It's a very busy airspace. So we looked at the Axness and it was the first step in going to a wireless communication system. And so we got a lot of feedback on it, and we ended up going with a different vendor at the time. And it was just kind of the timing with the build out of the aircraft and everything that we ended up with this other wireless system.
We'll call it Brand X.
Sure. So Brand X has its niche market that it's probably great for, and it did work for us, and it opened that door of understanding what wireless communications could do, where we could use it, how it could further our program.
Yeah.
And even because we fly as a crew of 3, so you're single pilot in a Black Hawk with a crew chief in the back and a flight medic in the back. So now all of a sudden the flight medic is part of the starting process. That was never the case with our 412 or our 212 before that. Yeah. So all of a sudden we're learning Firewatch and what the APU is and
droop stops.
Yeah, right.
Oh, come on. Yeah. I flew my 60. I love my 60.
Anybody that's getting a Hawk should watch videos on YouTube of just droop stops going in and out, so you actually know before somebody's like, oh yeah, you see that? You're like, uh-huh. Yeah. Or you need a laser pointer at like dusk, like, okay, these are the droops. This is
watch
how the line looks.
Flip down and they flip up.
Yeah. And so
even still sometimes I'll look over and I'm like, the droop stops are moving, right? And they're like,
yeah, dude.
I'm like,
I got it down now. I know when it hits 38% NR. I'm like, oh, dude, you're at 38. You can pull the brake.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
So we started with this Brand X, and we're kind of updating our 412. It's a 2008 Bell 412, and it was due for some overhaul. And so at that time, it was like, well, if it's going on for avionics, let's go with the Axis. So we got in touch, purchased the Axis system, Heroin installed it. Trey at Axis was phenomenal. This is, he's calling from Florida, calling me and being like, this is how you program and make the adjustments. So when we first put it in, it was a little bit off as far as the impedance levels and the volume levels and output gain and all that stuff. Yeah. And so Trey walked me through it over the phone. Like literally, I don't even think I had Microsoft Teams. I downloaded it and like set him up, and he's like walking me through baby steps, get this thing, and it is functioning like as perfectly as it can for us. It. So it's crystal clear, good comms, no connection issues, reliable. And so we ended up getting the fixed Axis system with the remote charging on board.
Nice.
And then the desktop. So overnight we'll keep them, in the desktop chargers, and then, take them with us if we get a call.
Yeah.
And then during the day it's just in your harness ready to go.
Yeah.
And so we got that system, and then we all started training with it, and it was, like they were saying, there was this trust issue.
Right.
Where Brand X was not reliable, would almost be an overstatement for our program. And then we went on and started using the Axis and started gaining that trust and building that in. Then they have these incidents, and it's like, okay, we actually fast-paced our procurement by getting a mobile unit for our S70i.
Oh, nice.
So
very nice.
Right now we have Brand X is sitting in the tail boom, and we're running the mobile Axis.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And all the other stuff is just sitting in a box.
Nice.
So we completely walked away. Axis has been phenomenal. We've been able to integrate it into other components that have had issues before as far as communication systems. So we can run a combat style rescue helmet with an 800 megahertz radio, Axis, and talk-through technology that's all waterproof and lit up and everything. So it's like a one-stop shop helmet setup. And other places were having issues with this, and somehow in working with the vendor of the communication system and working with Axis, we found something that worked. And so basically our setup now is we go out on push to talk for any normal hoist so that they don't hear us yelling commands or anything like that, and there's not that interruption in their cadence. It is sterile between the two of them. If there is a quick capture, then or even in the water, we will go on Vox so that we have that positive talk without utilizing our hands. Because when we use our quick capture, we use our quick capture really as a safety. So we bear hug as hard as we can to keep it on and loaded, but not pinching through the ribs. So when we go train, we put on PFDs before we go quick capture training so that you kind of disperse that pinch.
Yep.
So when we do the quick capture, we don't have any hands. That's why we only had the head signal, because we're just bear hugging as tight as we can. And so what we've decided is by moving the axis, the push to talk is out of the way. We can set it to Vox. We can go in and affect the rescue, have comms, still use our head signal because that's our fail safe. Yeah. And we don't want to change things. We're just adding.
Yeah.
And so we will go in Vox for water or quick capture.
Dude,
or if it's briefed.
Yeah. So. That's awesome. I love the fact that it works so well for you guys. I love the system myself. I mean, it's one of those things as a hoist operator, and you're up there at 150 feet, and you're like, hey, bro, you gonna hurry up, or am I waiting all day? I mean, we're burning fuel up here. What are you doing?
So that's the caveat to it, is all of a sudden whoever's down hears when they're flying around and we're working, you can hear everything they're saying. Like, dude, why is he walking that way? I can hear you. This is the best route. Like, so they have to be cognizant now.
Well, and another piece of that is now all of a sudden you guys from the air, or us from the air, can look down and you're just on ICS. You're like, hey, bro, just take 2 steps to the left, or just walk a little bit over there, and you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not radio, hey, go over here.
No, just
you're just talking to them like we are right now.
And I think
it's amazing.
I said that, I think, with Barry, because Barry's like, I'm good, or something like that. He had said something. Again, we didn't really brief it.
Yeah.
But now that I think that we've had enough incidents under our belt to know that, there's a pertinent time for the HRMs, the rescue medics, to verbalize something.
Yeah.
Only when there's, something substantial or significant.
But the fact they're listening the whole time?
Right.
Not just listening.
Well, and the same thing goes when we're training, right? Like, they know, like there's no hiding that. Like, I'd be like, oh, dude, that one was good. And then Tim's like, no, dude, that wasn't good. Like,
do you see all the poison oak I'm in right now?
I'm going to be like, okay, you go ahead, stop your forward. We're right over target, or whatever. And he's like, we're not over target. We said that we briefed that over there. But no, it keeps everyone accountable, for sure. It adds accountability.
Yeah.
It does.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, we're running out of time, but I'll tell you what, if there was any other piece of advice that you would drop for the Axis system, tell everybody to go get it. What would you tell them?
That's it. Get it.
Go get it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so user-friendly. There's so little interface that you have to do as a user. It turns on automatically on the aircraft. When you turn the aircraft on, you just manually turn your personal receiver on, and that's it.
That's it.
So how much simpler can you get?
And me as the pilot, I guess, I mean, it's just, it's worked. That's my biggest takeaway. I mean, it's worked. I mean, we've talked about, we had a little bit of trust issues with the other ones. We'd go out, I mean, you never knew if it was actually going to work or not. You know? So whereas this one, it's become...
We haven't been let down.
We haven't been let down yet, and it works. So,
beautiful.
I mean,
communication is the most fundamental aspect of any relationship.
Yes.
Right? And if you don't have it or elect not to have it, you're like, why would you?
Yeah. Your relationship goes to relationship.
Yeah. There you go.
I can't take that. That was Dane Cook.
Yeah.
I stole it from him.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's why you should get Axis, right? Keep everyone in the loop.
Right on. Gentlemen, this has been an absolute pleasure for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Quinny.
Live at HAI Heli Expo 2024 vertical booth. Helicast, I love it. Dude,
thanks for having us.
See you guys right
Thank you, dude. Thanks for having us.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
Go.
Now, it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share, or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at the Real ResQ. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. Thank you for joining me today here at the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this episode.
Axnis. The Axnis PNG wireless ICS system delivers cutting-edge wireless ICS technology to any aircraft. As a fully integrated system or as a carry-on, carry-off mobile base station, the PNG wireless system is the right solution for any mission.